Drugs.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
But oh wait, are you done uploading?
Hello, it's Jim Worldwide, and I'm here with my very special friends, Mateo Lopez and Mark Fisher of Mark Fisher Fitness. How are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty great.
I'm pretty hungry.
Well, you wouldn't be if you were on the topic of today's podcast, which
I was on Ozempic.
Which is drugs. Today we are going to talk about drugs, dear users. Semaglutides, specifically, and how they are creeping their way into the fitness industry.
Your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Teo, what do you know about these? What do you know about
I know
these?
Nothing.
You know nothing,
except
Mark?
for the article you sent us this morning.
Yep. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I know that they are a big topic in the broader mainstream culture, as well as, I think, more and more the fitness industry. I think my hot take is it's going to be more and more a thing the fitness industry is taking very seriously for reasons I'm sure we will elucidate in today's conversation. But I have to say, I even have friends in my social group that are already taking it. Now, again, admittedly, of course, definitely much more affluent sort of entrepreneur social group.
You hang out with actors and people go to the Hamptons. You hang out with the Beverly Hills housewives and they all take it. And that's why all your friends are on it.
I was trying to avoid being outed, but fine, listeners. Now you all know me and the housewives cooking it.
And so that's, I mean, it's a diabetes drug, right? These started as diabetes drugs.
Yeah.
I think it was Hollywood actors found out that you could take these diabetes drugs and it would curb your appetite and make you skinny. And then that made its way to TikTok. So let me share my screen here.
We always need TikTok for the context. Teach us TikTok.
Where there is just a flood of posts with 1.6 million or 4.6 million, 1.6 million, 660,000 views, 1 million views that are all about losing weight on Ozempic and getting Ozempic. And a gym owner listening to this might say, why should I care? Well, it was recently announced that WeightWatchers was going to buy a company called Sequence. Are you guys familiar with Sequence?
Oddly enough, my general practitioner, Dr. Spencer Nadolsky, who's a board certified expert in obesity, is the medical director for Sequence. So I have not had a chance to talk with him about this. He would be a very interesting person to get his take on this, because sure, once we get into our conversation relative merits, I'm very influenced by his perspective on this. But yeah, kind of big moves, right? Big moves.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. All those companies, like when Viagra went generic, where you could just get dick pills online, where you would just see a doctor and then all of a sudden you would just get packs of dick pills. It's like that, but for diabetes medicine. So you go and then you have an online consultation and then you get a prescription for Ozempic, Wegovy, all of these ones that are what should we call them? Like craft drugs, craft weight loss drugs.
There does seem to be an opportunity.
Biohacking drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the only thing I might offer is biohacking for me and those of us in the evidence-based corner of the industry is synonymous with fraudulent, whereas these are pharmaceuticals. We can, again, debate the relative merits of them, but this is actually a thing that's going to work. This is not a shaman blessing your butter before you put it in coffee.
Oh, this is not a podcast about whether they work or not. They work. It has been proven that they work.
Definitely, this is actual science. Actual science.
So when they announced this, it sent the stock ripping like 79% in one day. So you just look at the stock chart, it was straight up, right? And who's the biggest single investor of WeightWatchers? Do you guys know?
Oprah.
Isn't it Oprah?
Yeah, and who would be a great person to peddle this when it comes off label and gets approved for weight loss?
Just the most trusted,
the most trusted
talk
person
show
in the world.
Hosts in recent history.
you get Ozempic, you get Ozempic, you get Ozempic. So I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw this ad, and it literally had the same copy as your standard 6-week challenge ad, saying like, I'm looking for 15 area residents that are looking to transform their body. And I was like, oh, a new gym's opening up. And it was literally an ad for these drugs, for Semaglutides. And so it looks like our worlds are converging. And when I think of it from a marketing standpoint, this seems way easier to market than a gym membership, which is why it has some, I think it has some interesting implications in our world and is worthy of talking about for a brief moment in time. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to this really is potentially be disruptive in a way that I just don't think a lot of people are clocking right now. Now, to some extent, it depends on what your model is. It depends on what you're offering. But I think it is widely held to be conventional wisdom, and I wouldn't dispute this, that the sexiest thing you can sell for most general population clients is fat loss. Now, depending on your market and where you've fallen into America's culture war, balkanization, how directly you can do that or not, there's going to be some variance. But on balance, most people feel this evolutionary urge to look a certain way, which, we also, I think everyone would agree, is to some extent facilitated by media images. And this is a lot of what gets a lot of people to take action and get in the gym, right? Sort of the prototypical, recently divorced person in their 30s that wants to get back single again and doesn't feel confident. And there will be a lot of, I think, coded references to that, right? It's about the confidence and I want more energy. And those are true things too. And people do want them as well. But the reality is the easiest thing to sell and the thing that creates, frankly, the highest price point from fitness population clients is the promise of fat loss. You're just never going to sell as much when the promise is more energy. You don't even sell as much when the promise is don't die as young, because that's a delayed feedback loop. It's just not as sexy, right? So if you look at, I think, the most financially successful gyms, and I don't judge, this just is what it is, or I'm not trying to judge this, but you're not going to find a lot of them that don't traffic very heavily in lots of before and after pictures. They're not specifically focused on fat loss. The 6-week transformation programs, and by the way, nobody knows this better than me, because I've seen the way it has not entirely served us, frankly, to move away from a really strict fat loss messaging to a general fitness kickstart messaging. And I'm happy to discuss some of the reasons why, for me, the type of fitness professional and messaging I want to be made that decision, even though I don't think it's quite as lucrative, frankly. But I don't know what's going to happen, right? If you look at even the most prominent, we won't name them, but we can allude to, I think, coaching groups in the industry, all these high ticket offerings, it's all about fat loss. So if you are able, to your point, John, to sell that in a pill, I think it's going to change things. And I think perversely, on the other side, if that's not something you're entirely reliant on, I think it's going to insulate you a little bit more. I think, my final contribution before I let you two chime in on this is, I think the reality is there's still going to be a place for fitness. I'm certainly not saying that suddenly everybody's going to be taking pills and no one is going to work out anymore. But I think if you have a gym that is a fat loss focused gym, if you've got a high upsell for nutrition, this is a thing I would be keeping an eye out if I were you, because I think it's going to, in some ways, going to be a competitor, right? It's an easier and different solution, if that's the end goal.
Mateo, can you read this?
Okay, so this ad here is for the America's Wellness Group in Jupiter. Attention Jupiter residents. We're on a mission to help 15 lucky people shed some extra pounds with our medical weight loss program. Say goodbye to the yo-yo and hello to Semaglutide. Book a consult now and let's get this weight loss party started. There's even the dancing woman emoji, which I've used hundreds of times in my 6-week challenge ads.
Yes.
Say goodbye to your yo-yo dieting. Book today. And they have the rocket, which I've seen on tons of gym launch ads too. So that's great. Love that.
Oh,
Hilarious.
The benefits right here. The benefits right here. Decreased appetite, more energy, smaller sizes with a bunch of exclamation points.
Of exclamation marks.
There
and
you
it's
go.
I'm
I'm surprised that got past the Facebook.
Yeah, I know it.
Subdomain
sensors.
go.growlocaldigital.com. Yeah, they must they've run some ads before, because I don't know how you would get through this. And so you go to their site, and it's literally looks like a landing page you'd send people to in like 2014 with like before and after photos, and like those weird network ads where it's like, this food is killing you. And it's like a photo of like a rotting banana. It looks like one of those. And then
I'm shocked this got approved. Like,
and then look at this though. So it's like they have a location in Sarasota, one in Jupiter, one in Ohio, and then there's like 5 more coming soon.
Yeah.
So it looks like there's some money behind this, and it looks like it's making a lot of money.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This does not look like a fly, or it might be a fly by night operation, but this does not look like something like an ad that's not doing very well. Like if you look at the actual drug page itself, like this is one of the bigger ones, Ozempic. The page has 30,000 likes on it for just like it's not like just a drug. So it's kind of a big deal.
I mean, people like drugs.
Yeah,
like drugs.
There's a lot to like
drugs.
about them, but
And I love drugs. Well, here's the thing. I do want to articulate my personal hot take on this right now is I actually think this is a good and badly needed intervention that in very meaningful ways at least has the potential to improve the aggregate quality of life in our society and ease real suffering. Right. So for people interested in digging more in this, if you want a really thoughtful exploration of these drugs, I would recommend there is an interview on the Ezra Klein podcast with Stephen Guyenet, who wrote one of my absolute favorite books on the topic of fat loss called The Hungry Brain, which looks at fat loss through a neurological perspective and the way that the brain impacts these systems that regulate our body weight. And it is not a secret that we are not perfectly adapted to our current environment, right? And because of that, while I, until now, and listen, I'm not saying there's not a place for exercise. I'm not saying that eating properly shouldn't be a part of this. But as somebody that has been doing this professionally for years and years and years, that has a specialty working with people that are not athletic populations, on the one hand, I have always been frustrated by a nihilistic, defeatist attitude that says, don't even bother. No one can ever change anything. There's nothing you can do, because that's absolutely not true, right? And when you look at the health outcomes, relatively modest decreases in body weight correlate pretty strongly with some really improved long-term everything health outcomes, right? However, it is also true, it's hard. It is so hard. If your genes are not working for you, and again, you can't pull completely apart one's individual choices, but between your genes, the childhood environment which you grow up in, there's a lot of factors that make this so hard for people that I don't think it's fair to say like, oh, these people just need to lose weight. They need to just like white knuckle it. And again, I'm going to get canceled here on this podcast, clearly. I also want to say, like, yes, I also agree. The body positivity movement has absolutely gone too far in some situations and is completely absconding with the science because of certain political motivations and agendas. But this drug, I think, is going to be important. I don't think we can expect that all of American society like just needs a stiff upper lip and like work harder. Like, I work with these people. They are trying. They are really trying. And it is hard. And it's hard to be human in general. So to my mind, I think this is going to be a very, very important addition and tool. And part of what I'm asking, I'd love you two to weigh in on, because I think now that we're looking at the Facebook ads that are coming already, is what is the way that we can integrate these as part of the tapestries of tools that we can use to help people live healthy lives, but not in a way where the incentive tails start to wag the dogs, right? So if we're suddenly now always going to this as a first resort, and again, I'm not enough of an expert on this to really speak to the side effects of this. My understanding is so far seems pretty good, but it's also kind of early innings. So we don't know yet if we're going to find out there's some gnarly side effects we don't know about yet. But you know, I'm both excited about the prospects of these drugs as one way to help individuals that need this kind of help. And I am concerned about the way market forces could potentially foist this upon everyone, and then potentially disincentivize other things that are also important for your long-term health, because the reality is you still want to move. We still know that body weight aside, strength training, cardiovascular activity, these are very important things if you want to live and perform at a high level. So that's my current hot take. I could be wrong about any of that. What do you think?
That's where I'm a little more skeptical. I think, yeah, and it depends on what you mean by like this is going to be disruptive, because yes, I do think the fitness industry is going to be disrupted by this. I think a lot of money will be made by certain players. Yes. And I do think that for certain populations, like, yeah, I've worked with people who just have like, bad thyroids, or their hormones are so out of whack that just like dieting and fitness is just not going to cut it in the same way, right? So there needs to be some kind of intervention, whether it's with hormonal medication or maybe drugs like this, right? 100% there are, and then for people who are really obese, where like you need some kind of intervention like this can be a really effective tool. I am a little more skeptical on the like overall impact on the like, if you want to call it obesity epidemic, or just like the percentages of like the entire population being impacted by this. I am a little more skeptical, particularly in certain communities that are underserved. Sure. Like Black and brown folks, diabetes and obesity, it runs rampant.
100%.
And these are communities that are in a lot of ways like, Black or brown neighborhoods have 70% less grocery stores than white neighborhoods like a lot of the time. People who grow up in extreme poverty, who are children, studies have shown their executive functions are really impacted negatively. So, when you are older and you have to choose between an apple or a piece of candy, your executive fund, you can't make that decision as effectively, right? So, yeah, I mean, now they can take a pill, but it seems like, to me, it could be a cool tool, but it's to me an unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we got here, because now we have to take this pill when we could have done, I don't know, maybe some preventative things in the way we structure society so that we didn't have to get here. But that's kind of my take.
Yeah, I mean, that I'm not going to be able to dispute that. I guess it's just, as someone that's first and foremost a pragmatist, I don't know how to unwind where we're at right now. So adding this in, and in practice, I don't see a society I'm probably interested in living in that completely removes all of those barriers, because the reality is, leaving aside the very important contribution of things like socioeconomic background, the sort of family situation you brought up, and the messages you received around food, your everything from your exposure to child pollution, to trauma, et cetera, we are living in an obesogenic environment, right? And the human brain is just not designed to be around this abundance of food and not take action. And I don't know. And again, I admit it's, if I were to critique myself, it's like a little techno-utopian to be like, okay, well, the Industrial Revolution got us here and science has got to get us out of here with pills. So I do share those concerns. And
on top of that, the price point, right?
Well, that's a concern, and that's a whole other issue.
If you were going to say it's free, maybe that'd be a little bit different, but, only certain people are, at this point, Hollywood celebrities are the ones buying it,
100%. And to say nothing of the fact people with diabetes, my understanding is, can't even always get it right now because all the celebrities are on it. So, I agree. As always, like, access is going to be like a piece of this. And, I think that sort of leads us back to, Guys, John, you have a hot take on this.
Pay $0 for your first month. What's better than lifemd.com or the Dick Pill Company right here? $99 program first month and $135 a month for
that first month.
It's a low barrier offer. $99. We're going to get on a consultative sales conversation. I'm going to help sell you on the 12-month commitment, right?
With a doctor,
and it's a doctor. Who's more credible than a doctor?
But Henry I do think $297 a month. So there's a lot of there's some money going into this.
And then the last thing too, is there's that article that John sent earlier today, there's a lot of people on there who are like, I had to stop taking it for X, Y, and Z, and I gained a lot of that weight back. So now you're hooked, which I think is the point, in my opinion. But
and it's a little bit like and this is, I think, the challenge. I think we've talked about this before on this same podcast, where you have this incentive to like, why not do this thing? Why not live a better life? It's somewhat akin to people that if they can get selling testosterone as part of the receivable base, because it's, widely believed to be true. Like once you're on it, you'll never get off it. Right. And there could be debates about, there's probably some situations where that's really important that this individual's quality of life really massively changes for the better. There's probably some individuals that are predisposed to heart disease that just want to be more jacked, that are literally going to die younger because they're doing it. But part of the market forces, I think, is precisely that, right? It's like, if you're on it, now you'll never not want to be on it. And what sort of power do you have if you are the business that can provide this? Now, there's likely to be a race to the bottom. I assume this will start to get somewhat commoditized, but admittedly, I'm completely out of my depth here. I don't know enough about the pharmaceutical industry. I don't know enough about margins. I think the average Americans, both believe that medicine has been helpful, and also the pharmaceutical industry is not one that any of us probably have great love for. So
I'm pretty sure most people across both sides of the aisle don't love it.
I don't think we're I don't think we're like
pharma.
Yeah, I think none of us are.
Not usually.
Yes, not beloved.
That's one thing everybody can agree with.
Yes.
This is Roe, which is the dick pill company, says 150,000 Roe weight loss patients. So at 135 a month, what is that?
Okay.
150,000 times 135, 20 million a month. So yeah, 250 million in Ozempic. This is big business. And right here, they're just like, it's not approved for weight loss, but maybe we can get it for you if you lie a little bit. There's a New York Times article I sent you guys like last week, where if you they tested a bunch of these online providers, and for two of them, if you didn't qualify for the prescription, they'd be like, try weighing yourself at night when you're heavier, or try saying your body mass index is between this level. And they're just telling you to essentially lie on the application.
Right. It's exactly.
Well, I can tell you who is excited about this. If both sides of the aisle are sad, someone is very happy. And that person is the Beachbody CEO, Carl Deckler. So Beachbody, the P90X people, have recently rebranded to a more body positive company called Body.
Badai
Last March. And they said, let me go down here to read the exact quote, because I don't want to get it wrong, we are the holistic fitness, nutrition, and positive mindset resource for people who need to change their lifestyle at the same time that they contemplate prescription medication. So we're really in this ideal position. It feels like everything that we've done for the last 24 years has led up to this moment. So I guarantee these guys are thinking a lot about this. And one of the reasons is Beachbody went public in 2021 via a SPAC. And so they shot up, peak stock market mania, stocks trading around $14-15. And right now they're currently deficient. So their stock's like 45 cents, 43
Buy the dip,
cents.
baby. Buy the dip.
And so I guarantee they're seeing WeightWatchers and what they did and what that did to the stock. And
drooling.
Yeah, and these guys aren't dummies. Like, if you think of it, why would this work for WeightWatchers? They have a massive database. They're used to B2C selling. They have some marketing firepower behind them. And if you look at Beachbody, they have a absolutely massive database. They are incredibly good at marketing, and all the same things. They don't have Oprah, but maybe at these prices, why not Oprah? Buy 10% Oprah. This is
they have Sean T
for 14
They have
million.
Sean T.
And so they in the earnings call, they spent a section talking about this. And so how they play it will be TBD, but I guarantee that every large publicly traded fitness company will be talking about this in some capacity because it does great things to stock prices. If you own a gym, maybe 2 gyms, like what's the takeaway here?
Yeah, I don't. You know, it's
become
funny,
a drug dealer.
Yeah, become a drug dealer.
Become a drug dealer. Simple.
I mean, I think overall, like in theory, like, listen, if you own a gym, we're not big publicly traded companies. There's not a world in which we're going to, in most situations, be playing in the space. I think the best outcome, which whether it be seen or not, you know, again, probably me as usual being overly optimistic, but that, you know, some percentage of your clients start taking this when they need help so that they can get some support from their doctor if they're not able to just white knuckle it through nutrition exercise alone. And you still have an important role in their life, giving them all the other benefits of exercise, which are distinct from maintaining within the ranges of the body weights that we know to make you less predisposed towards the types of diseases that we know are correlated with having above average levels of obesity. But I don't know exactly how fast this would happen, but I actually do think this is a thing to consider if you're really relying on the 6-week makeover or like aggressive selling of fat loss, of high tickets that are all about, you know, making people feel very stressed about their weight. If this does start to proliferate, and I think to Mateo's point, particularly it's even more so if you decided you're only going to go after affluent clients in affluent communities because you provide so much value, you know, et cetera, whatever I need to say to convince myself that, you know, I deserve the very high price point that will allow me to have the margins because I want to buy a second house for my kids. And I say all that with love. I think if that happens, then this, I don't know. Again, I don't think it's going to tank your business, but I do think it's going to mean you're going to have less of those clients available because they're going to have an easier solution that is frankly cheaper and way easier than your high ticket or 6-week makeover.
These seem prime for partnerships, right? Like I think the natural gut
JVs.
reaction to an actual, like, you know, if I'm thinking like John Franklin, gym owner, 2015, I would read this and get really angry and say, this is evil and need to talk about why it's so evil. But the reality is like, it's here to stay. It's a way easier sale than your gym. And these guys are going to do massive volume. Like they're going to be able to get leads. They're going to be able to close faster because it's just like so much easier. You just like poke yourself once a week and you lose 7% of your body weight. And that's like, and the FDA, like that's like clinical trials have proven like that is what happens where like coming to your gym, you may not succeed and it requires going there 3 hours a week. So rather than trying to like close your eyes and ignore this and say it's evil or like postulate on why it's bad, you know, I'd probably like lean into it, try and figure out a way to formulate a JV and, you know, give people the intervention they need outside of just like shooting up a drug once a week.
Yeah, I'd be curious how those partnerships would work. I know we had a tough time like selling physical therapy, even though we had a physical therapist on staff because they had to like own the business.
Yep.
So I imagine prescription drugs and medicine has to probably be similarly complicated to partner up with. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you start the next Hims as your side hustle, and you could just do it with your other company. I don't know, and then you can partner with that one.
We were joking about this, and this is, again, not a project I'm interested in pursuing, but as these players come into the space, and I'll say yet again, I have some, you know, ethical reservations about all of this, but they're coming. And if you're just thinking about what the big brain move is here, if you were to develop a online company that is looking to distribute this, but rather than going direct to consumer, rather than looking to have Google ads and sell this nationally, your play is you look to align yourself with various fitness outfits, even independent gyms. I mean, there's got to be, I mean, what we always say, like 30,000 maybe training gyms. And maybe, frankly, the types of gyms we work, frankly, they're maybe too small fry for a lot of them. But if you were a player in the space, it would be a very interesting move for your distribution, finding some appropriately generous compensation to just get fed into the database of gyms that could offer this as a service that would, in theory, complement what they're doing. It could be another source of revenue. So in many ways, it would be similar to the Weight Watcher or Body or Bodhi, however you say it, move. But now, instead of using that for distribution, you're developing these affiliate deals with a lot of gyms and fitness people that have smaller, but if you have a bunch of them, that can also add up to a very large database of people that fitness is important to them, and fat loss is probably on a lot of people's radar. So there you have it, venture capitalist. You're welcome.
If you look at our friends at the American Wellness Group, again, you can see that they do offer personalized coaching for your weight loss journey in 4 simple steps, 4 different levels. So I do think some of I feel pretty confident this is probably just like a sales call. I do feel like some of these companies will try and pair some sort of coaching element along with the actual drug
that's probably
because there's more money, and they probably wouldn't want to deliver that because it's harder and lower margin probably than doing this. So that's all we got for you. If you look at quick look at SEMrush, you can see this is what our friends Traffic looks like. So you can see they're putting a little bit of money behind this. But yeah, I think it's going to make moves.
Fascinating. I wish everyone the best. I mean that sincerely.
Drugs.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
Didn't happen. It's all lies.
Well, dear viewer, that has been Gym World Worldwide, your #1 fitness.
And
business.
it's a viewer. We're only getting one person watching this one this time. I can feel it. Only one person sticking all the way through.
Well, if you made it this far, thank you. And please send an email to Mateo Lopez. He will send you a free Kilo shirt for supporting the cause.